Animorphs, short for Anime Morphin Power Rangers, was a Scholastic-published, wholesome children's book series about a group of kids who can transform into animals for only up to 120 minutes at a time, fighting to stop an alien invasion of the Earth. And they developed it into a decidedly unpleasant Pokémon cash-in Game Boy game. That's what we're here to play today. In Animorphs for Game Boy Color, we get to play as 4 college brochure-style racially diverse children, and maybe a blue horse alien, but that's a secret for later, collecting a stable of animals we can morph into that will help us take down the evil, body-invading Yeerks. You can morph into a dog, who turns into a goat, who turns into a raccoon, who turns into a skunk, who... That's actually a dead state. Skunk stinks, so to speak, and you won't be able to capture anything else if you're a skunk. But if you play smart, you can be a dog who kills a baboon, who kills an elephant, or a dog who kills a kangaroo, who kills a wolf, who kills a lion. There's a reason I'm saying dog so much, it's like the Mudkip of Animorphs. You have to get progressively, slightly stronger animals through chains of trade-ups in this game. It's like one of those early internet challenges who start with a paperclip and keep trading their object for something slightly better until they end up with a house. Just this time it's with animals. Animorphs is a hard video game, despite ostensibly being made for children, and it's not hard for good reasons. The strategy is pretty thin, and you can get through most battles by just mashing A. No, it's hard figuring out where to go. Learning that a walrus can't dive for pearls, but a dolphin can, and learning that that dolphin can only be found on one specific boat out of a dozen, and learning that you need to be a rat first to even board that boat. But I decided, with the help of one legend who's been keeping their game facts guide up to date through at least the year 2024, to take on this utterly scuffed monster raising game, to see if it's anything like Pokemon, and to see if there's any joy to be had at all playing Animorphs for Game Boy Color. Real quick, if you enjoy this kind of content, do please leave me some interactions on the video. I'm trying really hard to grow the channel in this more creative and narrative direction, and that will help me so much to find my audience. Thank you so much, y'all. Let's play. We begin Rick and Morpheus with a little cutscene. The Earth is under attack by a race called the Yeerks, which sounds to me like a dog who drank too much lake water. These little cigars are weak on their own, but most of the time they crawl inside the brains of other species and control them like a wet ratatouille. So we can't trust anyone. That's why we've got to become animals. For subterfuge. We play as Cassie for Mission 1. These games do follow the general outline of the books and the show, except our starter Pokemon, Morph, isn't a horse like Cassie had in the books. Only know how to be one way, that's the dog. Bark very little, but I know how to fight. Now, it's okay for us to speak to our friends while we're an animal, but we can't let the general public know that we morph, or they'll be jerks and alert the Yeerks, which is a game over, one of this game's many quirks. Our friend Tobias, whose mom f***ed an alien, but that's more so book lore, is stuck as a hawk and telepathically beams us quest help all game long. He's sort of our Cortana, the voice in our ear helping us comprehend the plot and know where to go. And Tobias's only advice for now is to grow our stable by collecting morphs at the pet shop.
You have to have the heart of an angel and the hide of an elephant.
It's our friend Jake who sets up the larger story. There are good aliens too, the Andalites, these blue avatar horses that Tobias's mom is into. Or that are into her. We're friends with one of the Andalites, his name is Axe, and we learned how to morph because of a blue cube his brother allowed us to all touch before dying. That's more book lore. Shout out Animorphs Universe, who's keeping the fandom alive in 2025. His video summarizes all 54 Animorphs books in a tight 27 minutes and helped me a lot understand what was happening for this video. For each book, he hit the perfect balance between information about that book's plot and implications for the greater overarching series plot. I wish a video like this existed for every book and TV series. I would speedrun everything. Jake and Axe want us to collect 4 Andalite processors that the Yeerks have stolen, and that's our real plot for the game. Any single one of the doodads can be used for great Yeerk mischief, like mind control towers or teleporting the power of their sun. But if we can assemble all 4, Axe can make a phone call. It's for reinforcements, but like, you need all 4 to do that, buddy? There is a mouse in the corner of this barn we can run into as a dog to initiate combat on this nasty in-and-out ketchup and mustard battle screen. Canonically, the kids just need to touch an animal to learn its DNA so they can morph to it, but this game had to find a way to justify a battle system, so we just bite the mouse twice to calm it down, I guess, defeating it and acquiring it as a morph. Now, we're not actually capturing these animals. We're still just playing as Cassie alone, but by going into the Annie Manager, we can change between up to 5 different animal forms. They do have separate hit points as well, so if you get defeated as the mouse, for example, you can continue fighting as the dog. And I think that even makes sense in lore, because there's a time in the books when Jake drops his tail as a lizard, but he's not like assless once he changes back to human. Animorph you capture joins you at full hit points, so that's one way of healing. If your dog is wounded, just kill another dog. Boom, there's your dog healed. If a morph gets fully defeated, you lose it, but then you can just fight that animal again and get it back. Anyway, just know the system functionally approximates Pokemon, but with a team size of 5 instead of 6. With so many cute animals we can gather in the game, I'm sad to announce a lot of them are useless garbage. Most of them, actually. It's not like, oh, you know, Goat is weak overall, but is good at countering this one type of enemy. No, Goat is ass. So is Ragoon, which I'm pronouncing that way because it's not only spelled wrong, but the C looks like a G in this font. C's should be symmetrical. And so is Skunk and Weasel and Crab and 80% of every animal in this game. These crappy animals can defeat each other, but this game seems to track a hidden agility stat for each species, and you cannot damage animals out of your agility tier. Your attacks just will not land. That means if you lose your starting dog, who's somewhere around a B+ in agility, before you manage to trade upwards, you may as well restart your game. To actually move along the plot, visit the mall where a snake has escaped the pet shop and he's going crazy. We're not allowed to morph in front of the public, but the game conveniently places this little morphing closet where we can get all the people off of our screen and safely become dog. Pass by an adorable fish tank full of trout, but our target is over here slithering on the pink carpet. This is not a tough fight. For taming the snake, we are morphed back to human, which I guess these bystanders don't notice? Seems like a design oversight. But then, after, I try to go tell the pet shop owner we fixed his snake problem, and just nothing. No lights on upstairs. Just a little pie-faced NPC doing his random walk for eternity, refusing to advance our quest state. Yeah, I had to restart my game here. There are quite a few soft locks in Animorphs. I think this one happened because I had fought and tamed an unrelated snake in town before coming here, which the game confused with the plot-based snake. So I skipped all the trash small animal catches this time because we really only needed the dog, and I rushed back to where we are in the mall. After fighting the snake again, I did tame a monkey from the pet shop, mostly just because I learned that gaining a new morph is a safe way to demorph in front of bystanders, but monkey out of all these animals actually can land some blows on faster enemies, so it's the one thing besides dog you might want to bring around. And yeah, this time the pet shop owner's quest triggers when we step on the correct tile. You'll see new password generated a lot. That's how Animorphs saves your game. Every time you trigger a flag to advance the state of the plot, it generates a new 12-digit password you can enter on the main menu in case of a game over. There is no battery save. You'll want to press select and view your passwords frequently because combat between evenly matched foes is a complete RNG fest, and it's very common that you will lose a fight you, for all intents, were supposed to win. Call me Wirt because we're headed over the garden wall next, using snake form like an HM to slither through the crack. And just over that garden wall is a Hork-Bajir, yet another alien race who sounds like a euphemism for throwing up. The Hork-Bajir are a race who actually would be good guys, except the Yeerks took their race over and climbed in all their brains, so now we gotta put them down like zombies. We'll fight a lot of them this game, but 4 dog bites do the trick, and we're given food that heals us after every alien fight. I believe that implies that we're consuming the alien corpse? Having a little Hork pork? Some Bajir paneer? Once we're inside the zoo, it's an all-you-can-morph buffet. A Tobias message says we're going to need a pole to disconnect 4 transmitters, which are making the animals get aggressive, like we saw with the snake. Unfortunately, the pole we need is guarded by a wolf, who's like a mega dog, and the transmitters are inside the cages of kangaroos, chimps, hippos, and lions. Now, Dogmorph is good, but he's not good enough to take on the whole animal kingdom. The lion is king. Sinquinha skibada or whatever. In order to get a lion on our team, we've got to establish this conversion chain of defeating ever so slightly tougher animals to bridge the power gap between dog and lion. And don't let me undersell the work it took to learn how to do this. Methodically fighting each animal to find ones that were stronger, but not too much stronger was rough. Chimp, too weak. Baboon, too weak. Coyote, fox, deer, garbage. Elephant, high hit points, but still can't land a blow against most faster things. Turns out kangaroo is our important foot in the door, our gateway drug, our job in the mailroom. Monkey or dog is good enough to get kangaroo power on the team, who looks really cute when it walks. I mean, the sprite work in this game is bad, but in a super charming way. Looks more like a bat beating its wings. Kangaroo actually does act first when we challenge the wolf, which is a good sign. If the enemy ever gets first strike in a combat, that's a sign that its agility trumps yours and you will not be landing any blows against it. Our kick move is super effective against Wolf, but landing enough blows to kill it before he kills us is still RNG with rather poor odds. So, wait, super effective? There are elemental weaknesses and resistances in this game, kind of. It's based on the move. I can make silly statements like, sharks are weak to punching, and screaming at a dog is not very effective. It's completely absurd. There's no customization of an animal's moveset, though. A dog always knows bite, claw, scream, and kick. Agility matters so much, though, because your ability to even touch an enemy is kind of a prerequisite for worrying about how much damage your moves do. I didn't really bother thinking about matchups in terms of weakness and resistance. It does not matter that a deer's kick should be super effective against a cheetah. You will never, ever hit with that, so your effective damage multiplier is not 2x, but 0. So in considering matchups, it's really not even worth worrying about your moveset super effective or resistant, rather than just asking the question, can I even hit this thing? Kangaroo is just that little bit stronger than Dog at taking down the wolf. Then with the wolf pacified, we can pick up this green rod and start deactivating animal frenzy-causing transmitters. The berserk beams. The rabies rods. And with that wolf link in our chain, we can attempt taming a lion. Since my roster is full and I'll have to replace something anyway, I cash out my wounded kangaroo first and do actually eke out like 40 points of damage with it, punching well above its weight class before switching to wolf, whose powerful claws go the rest of the way to gain the lion morph. Now, fearing no opponent, we can stroll into other animals' cages with impunity, flipping off the rabies rod first in the kangaroo cage, then chimp. Then I morphed monkey for a minute to demonstrate what counts as strategy in this game. You've probably used a defensive move in a turn-based game before. Protect in Pokemon defends the opponent's move this turn. Shield and Slay the Spire reduce incoming enemy damage this turn. Using a defensive move in Animorphs gives you shields that reduce the enemy's damage, except it stays around longer than one turn. Say you shield it for 20 points of damage and an enemy attack hits you for 10. You still have 10 points of shield banked. And what's stupider? It stacks. Shield for 20 next turn, and that adds on to that 10, meaning you're now guarded against the next 30 points of damage. Rinse and repeat. So against this elephant, my monkey just has to spend a minute or so using Climb, banking shields to the point of invulnerability before biting him down in increments of 15 until he's no more. This isn't sped up footage either. There are no battle animations in this game, so the game proceeds as fast as you can mash A. The only reason defensive move spam is not utterly game-breaking is that defensive moves, like attacks, will just miss and never function against foes above your speed class. Anything below your tier is going to struggle to hit you, so why bother? But within a similar tier as your opponent, it can be a method to preserve your hit points while you whittle them away. All the front-facing animal images when you transform are so awkward. The lion cracks me up. It looks like a boomer checking their phone. Anyway, after flipping the fourth switch in the lion's den, the man we spared from the raging lions surmises that the rabies signal was coming from a secret lab in the park. The fact he knew about this is kind of incriminating, but whatever. Oh well. Defeat and capture this conveniently placed bat because it's time to attack the secret lab full of 4 Hork-Bajirs with slightly different hit point totals just to make them feel different, but they're not. I didn't say so yet, but there are no XP or levels in Animorphs. The only stats an animal has are its hit points and some hidden agility or speed stat. There's really no progression system at all, which means we're not ruining our team or missing XP by letting one strong morph just blow a hole through every combat for the rest of the mission. Can't you help me as I'm starting to burn? We're in Bat Country next. Setting aside how unexpected this minigame is, this is unironically the best part of this video game. The music is acceptable, the art is a step up from the rest of the game, and most importantly, this is not an RNG fest. We're actually in control here. Just gotta avoid obstacles as our bat auto-scrolls through a dark tunnel. On the far end of our little bat game is our first boss fight, just a normal enemy who was given a boss hit point bar. What is this, Elden Ring? The evil scientist in the corner has nothing to say after the fight, and this little board game pawn is actually our first Andalite processor. We're a quarter of the way to placing our phone call, and the game jarringly cuts us directly into Mission 2. We're Jake for this mission with pretty bad hair, but none of the kids have unique abilities, and they all begin with dog morph, so this is functionally the same as playing as Cassie. Heck, maybe we still are Cassie, just wearing the skin of Jake. Ugh. This mission takes a little, or a lot, more outside lore knowledge to engage with. So the Yeerks have to leave their hosts every few days to bask in a pool of sludge. For a burnt-out millennial like me, that's just a normal weekend. The pool has this thing called a Kandrona in it. The Yeerks need to absorb Kandrona rays from in order to survive, but I don't know what it is, though. Like, is it a demon core, or is it a tiny microwave they stuck a knife in to get the door to stay open? Anyway, the kids are about to do terrorism about it. Never mind, our original goal was just to collect processors. I guess we're just crossing our fingers that a processor will show up if we go try and blow up the Yeerk pool, but before that, we have to locate an Andalite disk that has the location of the pool stored. This time, the humble mouse in the corner of the barn is actually a mission-critical HM mouse. But Jake wouldn't know that right now, so we're just exploring the town for activities. This construction site contains a gigantic pass now, so dog your way in through a Horky Boy and pick up the School Assistant Principal's parking pass? Okay, we need more outside lore for this. So the vice principal of the school is Yeerk controlled. He's actually one of their higher ranking lieutenants. This construction site is where the kids first learned how to morph, and they almost got captured by the vice principal in the books. And I guess his parking pass just popped out in the struggle. Tobias telepathically tells us to look for the principal at the school now, so walk up to the school, which has a violent stray dog patrolling the door. But the kids inside are aloof and unbothered, excited for algebra and gym class. The principal's office is locked, but we had to try that first before we're allowed to go shake down this pissing alien in the bathroom to learn where the principal lives. This alien actually killed me though and made me restart the chapter. See, you will just lose random fights you had every right to win. He kept pissing and I kept missing. But once we cover all that ground again, it turns out that alien wasn't even the correct one. We don't want the peeing alien, but the pooping one. This is not a joke. Taking a dump in this California king-size toilet to advance the game and collect his key. Then a janitor tells us which house the principal lives in, and we've got to go break in. Trying to enter right now, though, does nothing, not even any feedback. Is this even the correct house? But I know it's because we've got to go collect that mouse from back in the barn. He's actually really cute when he runs. Look at this little guy. Mouse rhymes with house, so now we can try to enter, but a cat quickly greases us. Well, two can play that game. Turn into the dog next and eat the principal's cat, which we can then morph into and enter his house undetected. It's full of aliens we can either sneak by or fight to grab a key in the upper left corner. He's also got the most two-dimensional couch I have ever seen. This thing is probably very good for your posture. Now, because there's no strength progression in this game, I figure we may as well collect a busted large cat morph while we're in the neighborhood and set ourselves up to not need to worry about combats for the remainder of the mission. I'll love you till my lungs give out, and I ain't lying. Because this time I grabbed a cheetah by crashing my cat into it and almost spending the whole dog too. Cheetahs do not quite do the damage of a lion, but like a monkey, they have a nice spammable defense move. And Squall Leonhardt is still around, so I also traded through a kangaroo and left the zoo with a nice wolf-cheetah partnership. The key we robbed from the principal's house now gets us into his office in the school. Cheetah eats through some Hork badge, and we do find the Andalite disc that holds the location of the Yeerk pool. To beat the Yeerkus, head to the circus, where a lion is going berserkus. We do have to pacify that lion in order to advance the game, which sadly made me cash in my cheetah after all. I'm brushing up on looking down. I'm working on my roar. There is also a tiger in the back cage who's so much better than any other animal, we cannot even scratch it, even with the lion. But we can collect a mole, conveniently located one tile away from where Tobias tells us that we will need a digging morph to reach the Yeerk pool. It's super cute how the mole bounces around. A real party animal. With that, by entering this ring of rocks, we start another sweet side-scrolling minigame. This one, easily the hardest. Did anyone else have a really corny science teacher who made you celebrate Mole Day on June 2nd? Virgin Pi Day observers got nothing on Chad Mole Day celebrants. Once we've been funneled through the tunnel, avoid all the taxons you can just to save yourself time. Any big cat will cut through them like a hot knife through butter if you do get tagged. Taxons, by the way, are another alien race that the Yeerks have subjugated, but I don't think these ones were particularly nice guys even beforehand, unlike the Hork-Bajir. Deactivate a couple of switches to sabotage my Kandrona, defeat one especially healthy Hork-Bajina as our boss again, and the second Andalite processor is very conveniently located right there, ending Chapter 2. Chapter 3 is the wet one. We're Marco this time, still with dog, and again we do need the critter in the corner of the barn to advance. This time though, it's an HM rat, not a mouse. I know these are different species, but they would have been totally interchangeable for how this game uses them. Coding in both rat and mouse is crazy work. For our plot, we're looking for a way to Royan Island because Stone Cold said so. As in, it's really not explained. The gang just has an inkling that our destiny lies there. This ship captain, if you can manage to talk to him, because collision is really bad in this game, refuses to take us there, but he does mention a dolphin that he captured in his boat. Well, Rat and only Rat can sneak aboard his boat, which is also not visually distinct from the other 11 boats in any way. Then once inside, our dog can hopefully win us this dolphin morph if we don't roll badly. It is a tight contest. There's a random dog located in the ship too, probably because they know we'll need to heal post-dolphin fight. Now, figuring out how to make it this far on Mission 3 was already obscure, and the rest of the mission is not much clearer. Our friends offer cryptic advice, like, focus on the dolphin, become him. Yeah, thanks. I'll go swimming. I'm making Animorphs seem pretty linear in this video, but this has some of the worst telegraphing of where to go that I have ever seen in a video game. You have to seriously read between the lines to get anywhere. The instruction, become the dolphin, might actually mean try swimming and go around the entire map to check if maybe there's some area you can only access from the water. Then, once you find such a place, try walking around that area both in morphed and unmorphed forms, because this game has a lot of invisible trigger points that will only happen if you're in one state or the other. But before trying to unwind that clue, I figure I may as well run a standard kangaroo, wolf, big cat chain to get prepared for whatever combats they throw at us. And as a pro tippo, grab a hippo. The boss this level will be aquatic, so we want all the swimming morphs that we can gather. Not this walrus down by the docks, though. This thing could not hit a bison on Oregon Trail hunting. To advance the game, become the dolphin actually means walk to the beach where a man offers to bring us to Royan Island in exchange for 10 pearls. Hippo is not allowed to dive for pearls, tragically, but dolphin can. Demorphing while you're in the ocean leaves you stranded and looks pretty funny, but it's not dangerous. If we try swimming here as a dolphin, we dive and get our minigame for the level. The most engaging of these because you actually have to collect pearls this time, not just dodge. Hey, wait, I thought this was a Pokémon ripoff, but maybe their source was Echo the Dolphin. That had aliens too, right? This level is good vibes. Now, once Man takes us to the island, pay attention to Tobias's message here. He suggests getting a cheetah, which we might even have one from visiting the zoo earlier, but it's still mandatory to kill the cheetah here on this island before the game will allow us to advance. Good luck reaching it though. This island is absolutely coated in trash animals and more than a few aliens. Avoid everything you can. Kill the island's cheetah, then you should also grab a shark before moving on. If you let the shark approach you from the northwestern side of the beach, we count as both on land and sea, so the game lets us tag team our lion and dolphin to win this fight. Dolphin punches are super effective, but sharks are a definite tier above in strength, so a little luck is needed to gain the powerful shark morph. And with that in our pocket, the rest of the mission is gravy. Sharks swim into this cave east of the island, which leads to a long, linear Yerk laboratory that's mostly made of water passageways. Conveniently, there's an Andalite processor in here, getting us 3/4 of the way toward making our phone call. Our roster of wet animals by now includes a wounded dolphin, plus hippo and shark. That should be enough for the boss, though they also furnish squids in here if you want another form as insurance. A little further on, we can meet a new race of Yerk-controlled cute little fish aliens called Lyrans that we can use to heal up anybody who's wounded. I allowed the whole party to feast up here. I'm in love with the taste of you. These little Ed Lyrans. And the boss fight is just a Lyran with a promotion, who ate my squid and hippo before I gave an echoing battle cry and succeeded with the dolphin. It's back into Rachel's body for the final chapter of Animorphs. They upsettingly gave her eyes transparency, so they end up demon black on the transform screen. Somebody call Sam and Dean. Mission 4 is at least back to having a reason why we think we can locate an Andalite processor with what we're doing. After Mission 3 was just go to this island, and Mission 2 was just do some terrorism. Since we blew up their Yerk pool with its Kandrona rays that kids crave, their new plan is to beam in Kandrona rays from outer space, kind of like going on 4G when the Wi-Fi gives out. They're probably using an Andalite processor to power this project, so it does make sense for us to go investigate the construction. We're going to sneak into their cult by attending a meeting of The Sharing, some Harvester Lodge-style social gathering where they wine and dine normies and entice them into accepting Yerk brainworms. Hopefully, by faking interest in the sharing, we can learn where they plan to build that Kandrona receiver. Our starting morph this chapter is, of course, Dog. We have no issue dogging our way into the sharing, learning the location of the secret project, and collecting an ID badge. Our gang offers scattered dialogue after, but Cassie suggests the Seagull morph might help. And we know by now, when this game casually implies something, that we are 100% required to do that thing to proceed. So, bite a seagull in half with Dog, then of course, just to prepare myself for whatever combat comes later in the mission, I visit the zoo for a classic kangaroo, wolf, lion upgrade chain. Something was off this time though, and I had a hell of a time acquiring wolf. You could convince me the animals have different strengths each chapter, because I swear the tiger is extra tough in chapter 2, and kangaroo could barely take wolf here even with good RNG and several attempts after being easily strong enough to do that all game. Now, Animorphs is not fun enough to bother putting that to science, but it feels true. It took a little extra save scumming this time, but eventually I still gained wolf into lion. And just because I've been on Polish Bober TikTok, I also grabbed a crappy beaver morph. Look at him, he's green. What we've got to do is use our seagull to reach this mountain across the river, but be careful to morph a stronger form as soon as you make it there, because this hidden Hork-Bajir will crush a seagull, and there's no morphing mid-combat unless your form is defeated. The top of the mountain is a disguised grizzly bear cavern wherein we obviously help ourselves to a bear morph, and they have the audacity or the sense of humor to provide a convenience bat in this cave to fly home with, because they know they just killed Seagull for the majority of unprepared players. So yeah, the seagull and grizzly really had nothing to do with the plot, but we were forced to get them. The Yerk ship has landed in the water in the meantime, and now it's specifically a trout form we need to swim down to it. They will not accept just a beaver. Like, baby, 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 no! So grab a trout and enter the ship, which begins flying to the Arctic and the site of the Kandrona Receiver construction project. We can eat the entire crew as grizzly or lion, then the ship lands on the ice. Through the caverns far below, our quest will lead us onwards through the ice and snow forevermore. The way is guarded by some elite difficulty wolves, which we could fight or just run from. Except there's no cooldown on that same wolf reinitiating combat like 1 frame after we flee, so you've got to keep the D-pad pressed and move like 1 tile at a time before having to flee again. This game blows. I know we just collected grizzly, but there's a significantly stronger polar bear chilling in the corner that our own wolf claws down pretty effectively. Polar bear is like cold tiger for this mission. Then, I don't know why, but this next sequence is hilarious to me. There's an Eskimo wandering around, freaking out that they're being attacked by an orca, which is like not even close to them, and also they could just walk away from the water's edge. We're not going to not help them, though. Polar bear bites are super effective against whales, I guess, and this thing goes down just like Holy Mary. For saving them, the Eskimo goes, "Thanks, bud, there's a seal near a strange island," which just means slightly further to the left and easily visible. So hear my faith and seal my fate. North from this point are more ice corridors full of aliens for this polar bear to shred. Then once we manage to clear a path, there's a mysterious sealed door. As in, a door for seals. But call me the One Ring because I am a seal door's bane. Inside is our final side-scrolling minigame, a pretty exact clone and reskin of the mole game. But look how cute we are moseying along. It's the dumbest thing to take away from this game, but I can't emphasize how normal and nice these minigames were. It's so odd. When most of the game is a desert of pain, you get really excited for an oasis of side-scrolling seal cave. The eye-shattering dungeon at the far end of this minigame is a Yerk satellite lab they've been building to beam in those Kandrona rays. We can avoid most of the fights here since there's literally no benefit to doing them, but running into them is no big deal either when we can just bare our fangs. Smash their satellite, grab the final Andalite processor, and walk over to the final boss, who is, as tradition, an extra healthy Hork-Bajir. Seal cannot land a blow on it. Then I realized despite the game forcing us to get the grizzly, we've done nothing with it so far, and he barely scratches the boss too. For an animal they required us to collect, the grizzly should have been stronger. Polar bear is the better combatant. Then Axe programs the Yerk ship to pilot us home afterwards, and that's Animorphs Gameboy complete. These 4 Mickey Mouse looking hands Captain Planet the processors together, and Axe is able to place a phone call to the Andalite home planet. They say, "Congratulations, Animorphs. You have defeated Visser 3, but there are rumors that Visser 1 is on his way to Earth. We will try to send some help. Until then, be brave and keep fighting the invaders. Good luck, Animorphs. And we get a nice family portrait with Cassie in riling up the dog pose before credits roll and we're spit out back to the main menu. But wait, there's more. So I wanted to learn everything I could about this game's development context, and I knew that was going to be an uphill battle when I visited the game's Wikipedia page, and the only thing in the development section said, little is currently known about this game's development history. The only other thing in that section, with no citation, says that in the year 2016, a secret 5th mission was discovered, accessible via password. Googling Animorphs secret mission took me to the cutting room floor where they list the password for that 5th mission credited to a lucky Typhlosion for discovering it. And y'all, this mission is by far the best, mostly because it's straightforward. This mission did not have a guide written for it, so I was on my own here, but I was able to reason my way through this one with what I've now learned about how this game operates, with its invisible hidden flag trigger points and tacitly requiring certain morphs to make progress. So one more time, let's head back into Animorphs for a relatively short and fun victory lap mission. We're fresh out of kids to play as, since Tobias is stuck permanently as a hawk, so we're actually doing this chapter as Axe the Andalite. There are no special powers associated with being an Andalite though, so we may as well still be playing as a human. And even Axe still gets the one starting dog morph. These kids just all passed the one dog around sharing DNA? It's kinda freaky. The Yeerk's new scheme this time is a mind control beam that will help coerce humans into accepting Yeerk implantation. Tobias leaves us with a hint that we know to take as an order to find small morphs capable of picking the locks on the kids' cages, since oh yeah, the other kids have been kidnapped. They start us in the Andalite ship located behind the circus, so naturally you'd want to pick up some stronger morphs in the circus, but remember what I said about the animals maybe having different strengths during different missions? Well, the dog, who had always been our high agility hero, just cannot beat anything worth owning this time. I managed to pull an elephant and then a seagull outside, but those are both low-tier animals who surely can't hit anything that a dog is struggling to. I think Shiloh's coming down with a cold in Mission 5. No, there is an Andalite processor again on this level that I'm not sure if the game thinks they've cleverly hidden, but we can just walk right to it. Then to do some preparation in power level, I tried revisiting Grizzly Mountain, but I guess that only exists during Mission 4. Instead, I was able to narrowly make a kangaroo wolf conversion and had to try several times to complete the chain up into lion. It really does feel like there's some 10% accuracy debuff in place on this mission. But with that lion, we're looking okay against whatever coming fights. But I'm not going to complete this game without rising up to the challenge of our rivals. Let's get a damn tiger. He acts first in combat, even against lion, which is an immediate sign we're going to struggle. I could never discern if moves have different accuracies in this game, or if the RNG is just funky. A 50% accuracy move won't go hit, miss. It will commonly be streaks of like 8 misses in a row, then 8 hits. I know that's all in the realm of statistic possibility, but it didn't feel like probability. I don't know if we were on a very long losing streak last time we tried to get the tiger, or if Lion just has better stats in this mission, but whereas we couldn't scratch the thing before, Lion is actually able to bite down the tiger here without breaking a sweat, and we finally gain the Apex Animorph, Tiger. He plays like a mega monkey. You've got climb spam for invulnerability that you won't even need because ops can't land a blow anyway, and 15 damage bites that kill fast enough. Speaking of, we gotta go down to the docks in spring and drink tall boys on the rocks by the water. There's a Yeerk satellite we can assault to fight a Hork-Bajir, which then puts us directly on board a spaceship. This ship seems empty, but I know this game well enough to try walking around running into all the dead ends until finding the invisible trigger point that tells us the shuttle has now docked. Where? This must be the Yeerk ship in space where their mind control beam is being set up. Tobias telepathically calls to remind us our friends are still locked up. We should probably follow his advice and get a morph smaller than a wolf for lockpicking. Good thing a spider snuck aboard the ship. It's actually the specific morph we require to win, and I think we can get soft-locked if we don't get the spider here. Turns out, we didn't need to prepare any other small morph, like Tobias had told us at the start of the mission. Everything we need is provided for us, kind of like a carefree child walking into the SATs without a pencil. I could never. I always got so mad that it worked out for that kid. Insert the now 5 processors into the walls to ruin their mind beam, then proceed through the ship to save our friends. We fought plenty of Hork-Bajirs, Taxons, and Lyrans the Yeerks have possessed, but here we get to fight quite a lot of isolated, naked Yeerks in their native form, who look like sashimi and get defeated just as easily. It's unfortunate we didn't get to fight these early on, because they would have been much more balanced as easier foes at the start of the game. The difficulty curve is chaos in this game. Eventually find a spacesuit, and then I thought I had softlocked myself because I couldn't get anything else to trigger to advance the game. But if you can't get something to trigger in morphed state, try it in unmorphed state. That was my issue. You've got to be human, or Andalite avatar horse, and touch the wall in the final dead-end room to begin this mission's minigame. We are a little astronaut in this one, sitting in squatty potty formation and farting our way through the vacuum of space. And I wish I could say this one was fun. The scenery is nice, but all you have to do to win this one is glue yourself to the top of the screen and wait. I'm sure this is fun if you actually engage with it, but plenty of time to refill your water or pick your nose. Somehow, we managed to safely space fart our way over to the Yeerk mothership where our friends are held hostage, and we need to become that spider from earlier. But it's actually not Spider who can even pick the locks. We needed Spider to enter this Salamander's corner and gain Salamander, because he's the one with lockpicking skills. I'm just happy they showed some love to the creepy crawlies by the end. This game has been pretty mammal-focused. The Tiger can kill our way in and disable the ship's engines. Then we need Salamander to crawl into each child's room and free our friends. We get Marco, we get Jake. You can go Tiger quick to kill Cassie's guard or just stealth by it. We get Rachel, and we get Tobias, still in Hawk form. Our friends are going to get the escape pod ready. We have to take care of one final boss fight. The only real boss in this game, because it actually has a unique name and sprite for once. This is Visser 3, the head of Yeerk operations on planet Earth. Now, Visser 3 is the only Yeerk who knows how to morph, and that's because it's actually an Andalite body that Visser 3 originally took control of, and the Andalites can morph. So the Visser 3 we fight here is actually a morph of some other fearsome race that I'm not sure we get a name for in the books, but it's described as a large, sharp-toothed, 8-headed, fire-spitting hydra. There exist Vissers 1 and 2 as well, but Visser 1 is occupied for most of the series on some other planet, and Visser 2 shows up for like one book to try to make America go to war with China. This is the main bad guy for the whole series, so this should be a tough fight. And yeah, the crazy thing is, Tiger is not a silver bullet against Visser 3. He's resistant to bite and punches us for 30, which is high enough damage that we cannot abuse climb spam for invulnerability. Also, once you're put below a quarter health, your attacks do half damage, so he does kill our Tiger, but trusty old lion bites the final head off, killing Visser 3. Hop in this unmarked circular room to find our shuttle home, where it seems like the developers ran out of time and didn't write our friends any dialogue. Eventually, the ship lands on Earth right by the hut where we began the mission, and our friends still have nothing to say inside. Touching this boxy computer ends the game for real. It's the exact same ending from Mission 4, just an identical message from the Andalites being like, hey, we're gonna try and send help, but y'all keep going, thanks. It feels as though the devs cut Mission 5 because they just barely didn't have the time to flesh out the ending, and that is a shame because it's better than most of the other missions. Not the shark one, though. I liked the shark one. And that was a video game. There's scarce coverage of Animorphs GBC out there because, as we've seen, the game is bad. But seeing it compared to Pokémon several times, I was really curious to see what kind of bad it was. Animorphs is not broken from a technical perspective. Outside of some soft locks, the game functions. It's the underbaked battle system and lack of progression that drag this game down hard. We definitely needed more than 2 types of battle move, deal damage or shield damage, and they needed something to differentiate the moves besides their magnitude. Make Scream lower the opponent's accuracy, or give Kick a chance to flinch. And the lack of difficulty curve really dragged the game down too. In fact, the curve is worse than flat, it's random due to how the agility tiers work and your near inability to land an attack on a foe who's way faster than you, which you won't know until experimenting. The way to win each mission isn't to respect the couple of animals it provides for you, it's to repeat the same pretty specific chain of incrementally stronger animal fights until you have a lion, cheetah, or tiger, then steamroll the mission, only occasionally filling in other morphs when the game requires them as a progress gate. I suppose it makes some lore sense why they didn't include progression. I mean, it wouldn't make a lot of sense for Cassie to grind on skunks until her rat was strong enough to take down an elephant. But if we allow that line of thinking, does it really make any sense to create this video game at all? Like, given that you're developing an Animorphs monster raising game, the dog-on-dolphin combat is already an immersion break. they may as well have allowed us to have fun with it, because I absolutely would have power leveled my rat until I could chew through armies of grizzly bears. And goodness, they could have been a little less aggressive with the evasion. Even during a fairly matched fight, baboon on baboon, it's not fun when you and your opponent's blows are only 40% to hit. The low success percentages turned fights at once into a slog and an RNG fest. I mentioned there's not a lot of info about the development history of Animorphs GBC. What I could find asked more questions than it answered. It seems the credited developer Runnyfun is a family-friendly pseudonym of American developer Run and Gun, an extremely bizarre collective of artists turned game developers, with ties to an avant-garde parody religion and who spent most of the 90s working on an over-the-top FMV adventure comedy game about firefighters responding to a plane hitting the Sears Tower that only ultimately got canned due to 9/11. I know, Mothy goes one video without mentioning 9/11 challenge, impossible. There's a very good article on Bad Game Hall of Fame centered around the studio's later game, Urban Yeti, that I'll link below. It's a fascinating read. What I do have is a little more insight on the game's release and reception. Animorphs Gameboy Color came out in the year 2000. I found several conflicting months listed, but there were at least 6 books still unpublished in the series at the time based on the latest date I found, and as many as 12. So Runnyfun didn't know how Animorphs will end when they made this game. They had to leave it on a shrug, and I don't know, we won a battle, but there's more coming kind of message. In a weird way, that actually kind of nailed it, because that's how author K.A. Applegate ultimately leaves the series. War does not have a happy ending, and there is no decisive victory. Review outlets hated this game at the time of its release, and most of the coverage you'll find more recently hates it too. For my part, yes, it's pretty bad. When I get into an old RPG, especially one that has a reputation for being bad, a lot of the joy that I derive from that game comes from trying to play it in a way that's broken. Some spammable spell or unintended interaction that either trivializes the game or is hilarious in its absurdity. It's kind of like solving a puzzle for me. But Animorphs GBC is just fundamentally unfun, with its unbalanced combat, lack of progression, and it's ugly as hell, and the music stinks. Not to be a hater, it's just, we didn't even get a spoonful of sugar to help us take this medicine. Animorphs has turn-based monster battles, but that is the extent to which this game mirrors Pokémon. This is not the monster-raising Animorphs RPG kids were hoping for, and I do not think these two games belong in the same discussion whatsoever. Thank you so much for watching my video. This one is obviously a huge style change, so please let me know if it's something you enjoyed. This one took quite a few setup upgrades, and I'm still getting used to the face cam. Coming next on the channel is a game that I'm extremely excited to cover, but I really wanted to make sure that one has a nice video, so I'm practicing the format I think will work best to cover that game. It's a game that is impossible to play anymore. Do subscribe if you want to catch that when it comes out. Thank you so much to my patrons who keep this channel going and allow me to explore junky old curiosities like this one. I love you all enough to deep dive on Animorphs lore for a couple of hours. But seriously, thank you. This community has a Discord if you'd like to say hello, and I live stream once a week if you want to come catch me play real games. Until next time, peace out, Girl Scout.